The economic policies and consumption tax was one of the major ones that were talked about, obviously, given the inflationary picture in Japan. Do you think opposition parties will eventually push for consumption tax relief?
That certainly is the one thing they all seem to agree on in one form or another. Obviously, there were a lot of differences between, a party like the Constitutional Democrats that wanted just a one-year relief from foodstuffs, the consumption tax on foodstuffs. I mean, that was, pretty limited gesture. The Democratic Party for the People wanted an across-the-board 5% cut. Some parties wanted to get rid of the consumption tax entirely. I mean, so there's a lot of difference about the particulars, but clearly the winds were blowing in favor of much more fiscal expansion. I mean, maybe to mix my metaphors, but I mean, in some ways, it felt like Ishiba, in his insistence on the importance of fiscal consolidation, it almost felt like a dam holding back what looked like this rising tide of fiscal stimulus and desire for tax cuts and desire for more spending on different benefits, particularly for younger Japanese. And I think if he goes, you're going to see, I think that the dam is going to break, and you're going to see the next government is going to be much more inclined towards fiscal stimulus, I suspect.
Tobias, do you see any possibility of the U.S. and Japan reaching any kind of trade agreement? I mean, even if Akasawa-san goes later on today for the 8th time, isn't the U.S. going to be saying, why should we be talking to you? You might not even be in this position in a couple of weeks' time.
I think there's a real concern about that. I mean, you have to ask whether the U.S. is going to want to actually make deals with someone who looks like a lame duck, and you don't know if any promise he makes is going to stick. So, I mean, I think there's a real question about that. And frankly, I think we can overstate the degree to which the impending upper house elections were a constraint in the talks. I mean, the fact is that you had real differences in negotiating position between the U.S. government and the Japanese government, and things that were going to be hard for a Japanese government to sell domestically, regardless of whether you had an election coming up. Compromising on rice is going to be a tough sell at any moment for a Japanese government. And frankly, now if the LDP is feeling like it's in a state of crisis, it's not going to be easy for any LDP leader to coming out of this election to then say, well, actually, Japanese public, we've made compromises. We're going to be importing a lot more rice. And by the way, we have to accept a lot higher tariffs on automobiles. We've decided to give up on that, and we're going to be buying all this other stuff from the U.S. And I don't know if any LDP leader right now is going to be in a position to come home and say, well, we signed essentially an unequal treaty with the United States to get the U.S. off our back. And yes, we won't have the reciprocal tariffs, but we left all these other things in place. I don't know if any Japanese government can do that. And so it's hard to see Ishiba getting something done before August 1st. And frankly, it's hard to see, if he's out, it's hard to see a successor having a great deal more success negotiating with Trump than Ishiba has had.
Yeah, I mean, 25% is going to be a death knell for Japanese industry, and the U.S. is talking about more tariffs for the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, recession is everyone is talking about it right now, and a deeper one than they were a couple of weeks ago. I mean, how is Japan going to navigate through this?
It's a real question, and it's a real question of how you can do it when you have really a real political crisis going on. And, if Ishiba survives, you have a crisis because you have a leader who really has lost the confidence of the public and lost the confidence of much of his own party and isn't able to get anything through the diet. But even if you get a new leader and you get maybe an expanded coalition, you're still not looking at it's going to be a weak coalition. It's going to be new. They're going to be trying to figure out how to work together. And, it's unclear what mandate it's going to have. And they're going to be dealing with a real, potentially serious economic blow. Or they're going to have to, be born with this new coalition and immediately go to the United States and say, fine, we'll accept your demands. Please remove the 25% tariffs. But that is potentially, a real political loser at home for a government that's going to have, some pretty weak footing. And so it's not a great situation, really, economically or politically, for Japan right now.